What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. There's been a lot of discussion online around the Steam Machine and what it could be priced when it releases in 2026, but now there are new concerns popping up online that it could be more expensive than a lot of us are expecting. And this is mostly coming from a new report, we'll say, around how Valve engineers reacted when a PlayStation 5 level price point was brought up. And apparently it wasn't great, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about GameStop as they did post their Black Friday deals that are set to go live, well, next week. But then they just had a bunch of deals go live anyway, like now, so a lot to look at there. And we also have Kirby Air Riders with the reviews going live, and we'll see if Sakurai was able to get redemption after Metacritic pretty much destroyed Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube. All that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're here every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, keeping you up to date on all the gaming news. So even if you don't get a notification, just know there's probably a video here in the morning. And we're going to start today with Ghost of Yotei, as we do have New Game Plus with an update you can see. This is over on PlayStation Blog, saying on November 24th, a free patch for all Ghost of Yotei players will introduce New Game Plus, that of course allowing you to replay Atsu's quest for vengeance from the beginning with everything you earned throughout the campaign. Along with New Game Plus, they'll add new harder difficulty options and 2 new trophies, so trophy hunters are going to have to go back to this one. We also have some other collectibles to check out here, and there's a new currency called Ghost Flowers. You can exchange those with a new vendor for more than 30 different cosmetics, including new armor sets, weapon dyes, plus 10 new charms. So pretty cool just to see a free update as we have Sucker Punch going back and just adding on to it. And of course, we know next year there will be the Legends multiplayer mode. So this just seems to be part of maybe an internal roadmap they have leading up to that multiplayer. But still, next week, I guess, look forward to new trophies and New Game Plus. Also, it does look like Dispatch is doing very, very well in the sales department. This we can see. This is over on AdHoc's official account, saying, "We're also sad that there are no episodes this week, but thank you to the 2 million players that have joined us so far. Wouldn't be here without you." So, I mean, great to hear that apparently 2 million people have bought the game. And I mean, at this time, so I do know there are people who said, I don't want to wait for episodes to come out, so I'll just check it out when they've all released. I can tell you now, they have all released. So if it's something you've been curious about, you can buy it for the $30. And I think it was about 6 or 7 hours to go through it. And from there, you can go back and you can replay different points in time, different episodes to see what the other outcomes are. And then that would lead you to any of the trophies and stuff as well in the game. But I mean, there are different endings and other things that happen throughout the story. And I fully recommend it. It was an awesome experience. It deserves a lot of the praise that it's getting and the sales. They say it's tracking well ahead of their expectations. So I wouldn't mind seeing them do maybe, I don't know, a second season. I feel like they did a pretty good job with the story. Like, it has, I think, a pretty good ending. I guess they can continue on to a new story for it, but I feel like it's pretty much been wrapped up well enough. But let me know if you play Dispatch or if you're thinking about getting it now because they went ahead and completed the 8-episode run. Oh, and here's another left field port for the Switch 2 with this trailer. Yeah, it's PGA Tour 2K25. It was kind of strange because the game came out at like the beginning of this year. It was in February, I think, on the other platforms. And now here it is showing up on the Switch 2. I mean, the Switch 1 had a PGA Tour game. That was like 2K21, and it was still missing some stuff. It does appear that the Switch 2 version here for 2K25 will have all the game modes on the other system, which is great, that including the My Career mode, cross-platform. They didn't mention anything about the release date for it, but I figure they're announcing it now to get it set up maybe for the holiday season. And I assume next year, like early next year, we'll see 2K26. So it is kind of weird to say, hey, you should go check this out, since here, I don't know, in a few months, we'll probably be talking about the next PGA Tour game. But if you've been looking for, I guess, a more simulation-based golf game for your Switch 2, this would be the one to check out. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Steam Machine and the predicted price. That's what a lot of people are trying to come up with right now. I see many trying to just piece together systems, going over build of materials, trying to figure out where we're going to sit, at least a range of some kind. And I still think we're I mean, now I might be moving up a little bit, but I'm sitting right at the $600 mark for the Steam machine, and I think Valve could play around with that by doing some sort of pack-in game and going up to 700. And there's like, hey, that's just how it is. We have to charge more money, so we'll put a game in, maybe to ease, like to remove some of the shock, of course, of that price, but could even be higher than that. And this is actually something that has been transpiring here since we had that big hands-on event where a lot of YouTubers and press got a chance to check out the system and even the internals of it with Valve engineers. And of course, they were able to talk with them about all kinds of parts of the system, along with maybe strategy with pricing. And this is actually coming from Linus Tech Tips. And we'll start here with his initial video that he did on the Steam machine, where he says, they did give me one hint though. They said that while they expect it to be very competitively priced with a PC, that it will be priced like a PC rather than like a console, with games subsidizing the upfront hardware purchase. They wouldn't say why, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's partially to avoid stepping on the margin opportunities of their potential partners for Steam games and Steam software, but also because they recognize the Steam machine is a full-fledged PC capable of being used as a full-fledged PC. There's no guarantee that say a corporate purchase of 10,000 of these things would result in a single game sale, so they really do need to protect the sustainability of their hardware business. Now, my only thing with that last line of corporate maybe buying thousands of these things, I mean, Valve would, I figure, just sell it through their website, and they could even do limitations per account. I guess unless the corporation really wants these things and they make 1,000 accounts to then buy 2 or 3 on each one. But that doesn't necessarily seem as likely out of the gate, where you will legitimately just have, I figure, more plugged in core gamers, especially on the PC side, but also maybe from the console side, looking into this rather than, I don't know, Bank of America, like, hey, we got to get these Steam machines to fill up in the office. But the part that a lot of people are discussing right now comes from their follow-up show with the WAN show, where they were kind of reflecting on their time at Valve with the Steam machine and then answering questions from the audience. And this is what he said about the price discussion and their reaction, saying, when I said I'm disappointed that it isn't going to follow a console pricing model where it's subsidized by the fact that, the manufacturer is going to be taking 30% of every game sold on it over the lifespan of this thing, because I feel that would be a more meaningful product. They kind of asked what I meant by, well, what do you mean by console price? And I said, well, $500. Nobody said anything, but the energy of the room wasn't great. So that could mean a couple of things here. Obviously, if the energy in the room isn't great when you say $500, probably means they're above that. Now, how far above that? That's the real question, because they could be looking at this as engineers, even some product managers and stuff, going, oh, we're 20% above that, and they're at 600. I still think they can get away with 600 for the Steam machine. When they start to venture above that into the $700 or $800 range, I think it's going to there's going to be more pause with potential customers out there. The consumer base is going to go, wow, that is getting a bit more expensive, all right? Because you have to keep in mind, this thing is fairly small, and I know it sounds so basic to be like, it's this tiny system, but that is part of it. I mean, how many times have you, I don't know, you talk to maybe some of your family members or something, and they buy it and they're like, man, look at this thing is tiny. It's like $1,000, referring to like a PC or a laptop or something like that, or a MacBook. And that's just kind of how the mindset has been. But this one in particular is legitimately small. So it's not necessarily them realizing the engineering going into it, the parts. We talked about the memory cost and how that's skyrocketing right now. All of that playing into how feasible it is to maybe set the price at 500, at 600. So they could say, we're 20% above at 600. They could also be thinking, wow, we're like 40 to 50, 60% above that. We're in the 750 range for this thing right now. So that's not good. That would definitely suck the energy out of the room for the Steam machine. And this is where I think Valve, they haven't set the price, and it's so obvious why. It's because they're trying to figure out where they're going to be with the whole memory stuff going on right now, and how prices are fluctuating heavily and mostly just going up. But also there might be some strategy involved here. Let's say they do have a Half-Life themed game, we'll just say that, and they go, oh, okay, well, we could bundle it in, and maybe that would take some of the sting out, like I mentioned, of a $700 price point, because it comes with a $60 or $70 game, and you're going to kind of buy. If they announced Half-Life 3, there are a lot of people out there who are looking at the Steam machine who would buy Half-Life 3 anyway. So it just comes with it. But this is certainly interesting to see where Valve is going to price this thing at and when we'll get information on that, because going into 2026, you feel like they at least want to get us more information a month or so before they open pre-orders, and hopefully they can get it down. $600, I think, is where things get a little dicey above. So hopefully they can get it in there like $599 for the 512 gigabyte model, 2 terabyte model, probably $750, $800. Next up, let's talk about GameStop, as they did publish their Black Friday ad, and on their website, they just have early deals live now. And this happens every year. I feel like these companies want Black Friday to actually start November 1st. If they get it before Halloween, they'd probably be ecstatic. But at least for now, there are deals that are live for GameStop. And I believe Amazon's like Black Friday stuff starts today. So I'll take a look through that, see if we can find anything good, and maybe put a video up on Amazon's Black Friday offerings. But for now, let's take a look. This is over on GameStop's website. I'll have this link down below. But they have this all set up as sort of an interactive sales page. So each spot here will then take you to that corresponding deal. So you have like $20 games, $30 games or less, of course, and you can see a few of them here. And I wrote some down just very quickly. NBA 2K26 is $30, Madden 26, $40. I will tell you now, the sports games were always some of the most popular, specifically that year, the newest one. Always some of the most popular games that were part of like holiday lists when the parents would come in. So just want to point that out. Those are cheaper here for Black Friday. Red Dead Redemption 1, remember, that is getting an update here pretty soon, in a couple weeks, right? That's $25. Red Dead Redemption 2, been hearing about an update for that at some point. Might not be a bad idea to make sure it's in your collection, especially when it's $15. Final Fantasy 16 at $20. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth at $30. I'm throwing Gravity Circuit in here, okay? It's $30. I just say you should look up Gravity Circuit, all right? It's a cool game, especially for someone like myself who's a big fan of like old school platform Mega Man style games. Gravity Circuit is awesome. It's flown under the radar. Might be a bit high here at $30 for the physical copy, but hey, if you're a collector, there you go. It is marked down, I think, from $40. Otherwise, though, keep an eye out on like the eShop or on the PlayStation Store, wherever, and see if maybe it goes on sale with some of the other deals that'll be happening here in the coming weeks. As for consoles, I mean, you've seen what we have right now for Sony. That was in their Black Friday ad that they had posted, GameStop. So, I mean, we already went over that yesterday. That's all there. Nothing really on the Switch 2. Go figure. But I did notice for some of their used stuff where they can be, I guess, a bit more lenient with some of the price points. They were knocking down, for example, the PlayStation 4 500 gigabyte model. It's $115. The hacking scene has gotten pretty good with the PS4, just putting that out there. So if you've been curious about it, it also would then come with the controller. The DualShock 4s, for some reason, are still kind of pricey. So if you think about it that way, okay, it's not terrible. Or hey, for a younger gamer who's maybe you just want to get them something that's not super expensive, there's a huge library of PS4 games, and if it's new to them, hey, it's a great library. The Switch Lite, by the way, at $160, that's not bad either for, again, a newer gamer who maybe just wants something to play a lot of the Nintendo titles. $160, the Switch Lite. Good system. And then for the VR side, I did see that the MetaQuest 3S 128 gigabyte model is down to $250 new. Unfortunately, nothing that's really jumping off the page here for GameStop, but they are physical games at least that you can get and add to your collection. So there is that. The thing you should be keeping your eye out for, and I'm definitely been paying attention looking for this, the buy two, get the third free sale that they would do, GameStop in-store, on used games, because then you can really clean up if they do that, and hopefully they are ready to announce that for this year. But we'll have to see, especially when we get into like the holiday season. Sometimes they'll just kind of randomly drop that, announce it for a certain week, so I'll keep you guys up to date on that. Next up, let's talk about Kirby Air Riders, as reviews did go live. First though, let's set the scene here. Let's take a look. This is over on Metacritic for Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube. Yeah, it came in at a 61. The user score is an 8.1 though, so clearly there were fans for this title, despite reviewers kind of beating it into the ground. A 61. That's wild. This is definitely the nostalgia glasses here, I think, for a lot of people thinking back, remembering this game. Many people are shocked that it was a 61 on Metacritic. So let's see, was Sakurai able to redeem himself with the newest title? Kirby Air Riders coming in, by the way, at a 78. Okay. much better than what we had previously. And if we take a look at the split, we have 48 positive, 18 mixed, and 1 negative, which we'll look at the negative. But Silicon Era gave it a perfect score, 100, saying, I knew I'd like Kirby Air Rider since I enjoyed the GameCube original, but I didn't expect this game to feel stronger than Mario Kart World. Wow. It's so enjoyable and robust. There's room for both racers on the Switch too, of course, but if I had to pick a favorite and never touch the other game again, I'd pick Kirby Air Riders every time. So propping up Kirby Air Riders, kind of burying Mario Kart World in that review. All right. CG Magazine gave it a 90, saying Kirby Air Riders combines tight controls, excellent gameplay, and a plethora of content to make the best mascot racing game on the Switch too. That's something I saw pop up a lot, is that there's just a ton of stuff to unlock in the game as you go through it. Screen Rant gave it a 90, saying Kirby Air Riders manages to stand head and shoulders above Mario Kart. Wow, Mario Kart World's brought up a lot in these reviews, saying it's one of the definitive racing games on the Switch platform. Okay, let's take a look at the opposite end of the spectrum. I want to go to that negative review, and that's coming from Metro Game Central. They gave it a 40, saying the most baffling Nintendo release of recent years, with a quasi remake of one of the GameCube's worst games that seems specifically designed to irritate and confuse would-be players. Wow. Metro Game Central. They buried the first one, and they buried Kirby Air Riders all in, yeah, it's a single sentence. That's actually kind of impressive. So, I mean, I played the, like the test ride that they did, like the network test, and is what I expected. It's Kirby Air Ride, but like better, or a newer version, really. Kirby Air Riders. Yeah, that makes sense. But the game itself, it will be it has a bit of a learning curve, because when you play racing games, you are so used to holding down a button to go, and you just don't do that in this game. Now you use, of course, the button to drift around and turbo and stuff. You have items as well. And a lot of the multiplayer stuff is really cool, but this is a game where I'm going to pick it up and mostly play with the kids because they love Kirby. It's Kirby household here. All right. So a Kirby game comes up and I definitely know about it. So we'll be picking it up and playing it here quite a bit. But I will admit right now, I have some tunnel vision for Metroid Prime 4. So I notice and recognize Kirby Air Riders, but I am like, okay, Metroid Prime 4, a couple of weeks out. Let's get there. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about one of those Tales of remasters that's happening. There was this whole project that was announced where I think it's going to run for another year or two. And the idea was to bring up some of the older Tales games and introduce them, I assume, to a newer audience, right? So we figure they're going to go way back in time. Tales Destiny seems perfect for this. So what about Tales of Berseria? Yeah, again, random, but we have the trailer for it right here to prove that it is a thing. This is also over on RPG Site, who had the press release saying Bandai Namco Entertainment today announced that Tales of Berseria Remastered, an enhanced version of the beloved action RPG, will launch worldwide on February 27th, 2026. The remastered title levels up a memorable entry in the Tales series for the current platforms, letting players experience an epic tale with new gameplay and quality of life features. Tales of Berseria Remastered is available now for pre-order, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, S, Nintendo Switch, and PC through Steam. Now, to my understanding, this game was region locked from Japan on Steam, so I guess this is like first real release there for that. And then you look around other platforms, Xbox, Switch, I'm sure is a big one for them, one of the reasons they really wanted to do this. But otherwise, this is a head-scratching release because it's on the PS4 and you can then play it on the PS5 through backwards compatibility. Now, they do mention 4K, 60 FPS and stuff for PS5 and Xbox Series, which, okay, yeah, those are obvious enhancements. It still appears to be the Switch 1 version that will play backwards compatible on the Switch 2, so all right, great for Switch 2 owners. 1080p dock, though, 720p handheld, 30 FPS on the Switch. Very strange one, I will admit. There are a lot of Tales games, ones that I hadn't even heard of. People are just bringing up all kinds of stuff that we never even apparently got here in the US. And I'm thinking, that makes a lot of sense. So then here comes Tales of Berseria, and I assume it's just, this is one of the ones where it is like the cash grab, you could say. Them just moving it to other platforms and adding this enhancement patch and then, yes, reselling it to PS4 owners. Like, I have the game on the PS4 upstairs, and I looked at it and I said, oh yeah, that was the PS4 version. Why are they doing this? And it really is just, we're going to sell to Switch and PC, I guess, owners as well, especially in Japan. Here's hoping they have some maybe better ideas going forward for a project that does seem to have a bit of a time limit here going into 2026. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, Kirby Air Riders reviews are in. Are you picking it up? Okay, 50% are just not interested right off the bat. 33% maybe later if there's a sale. And then 17% say yes, getting it ASAP. I'll be kind of curious to see how this thing sells. I mean, maybe a couple million units overall. Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube is going to do a lot of heavy lifting for people who have the nostalgia to check this one out. I will say that, because it is a very different kind of racing game. And Kirby, though, I will say, has gotten a lot stronger in terms of the brand, especially throughout the Switch's generation and now into the Switch 2. So I think just with that alone, it will do well, but I'm thinking a few million copies, and Nintendo most likely be pretty happy about it, with Sakurai then maybe going on to do another Smash Brothers game. I mean, this kind of seemed like the pit stop for him to then go on to make the next big Smash game that you got to reboot it, I guess, but we'll see what happens when he has to cross that bridge. For now, though, Kirby Air Riders is out today, and I'll check it out and see what we have. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Morpheus, who says, I miss the days when no one I know has ever heard of NVIDIA or AMD. Well, those would be the days of NVIDIA, ATI, and AMD. So it was talking about quite a while ago. All right, most of the time that was when, if you brought up anything about a graphics card, immediately called a nerd. That's how it was back then, right? And even before that, there was a time where there weren't even really any video cards, and then here comes Voodoo, and it was off and running from there. But it was more like, oh, what's your CPU clocked at? How many megabytes of RAM do you have? That was legitimately you had to worry about the speed of your CD-ROM drive. It was different times back then. But yes, you're thinking back to a time period where it was niche to have a video card or have knowledge of a video card. Now it's just very mainstream, and that's more or less what you're referring to here. You're thinking of the glory days back then when, I mean, honestly, driver support was terrible. You had no idea how well your video card would perform with your motherboard. You started to realize that these things, you got to plug power into them now. It was a whole thing back then. It was certainly earned to have a pretty nice build for your PC, like through custom means, because even finding parts was a whole thing as well. But now it's like, oh, Amazon, couple buttons pressed, and then you go to Micro Center, they'll put it together for you. So different times now, but yeah, the mainstream has certainly shifted the way NVIDIA and AMD are viewing things, and the AI stuff right now has completely skewed the way they're looking at things, because it's going to get interesting going into 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you'll hear more discussion around the Steam machine and the possible price, and even maybe a launch title for it. I did a video on that, and I'll leave it right below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.